Hey, everybody. Today we have for you podcast number 101. Today's podcast is titled, Who Are You Impacting? Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. We are Dr. Pete and Sandy Lombardi, and this is the Limitless Life Network podcast where we flesh out the limitations that are preventing you from reaching your goals and living the life that you are called to lead. And we like to start off by saying thank you for tuning in this week, and we appreciate you, and I love the comments. Got some new people listening that reached out to me and said that they were listening. Relatives that listen, friends that listen from out of state. Really inspiring to us. So that's great. Thank you. Welcome aboard, and share this with everybody you know, because I think today's message is that good.
I agree.
I think today's message is top shelf. But yeah, last week, sorry, we didn't put out a podcast, in case you noticed. It didn't notice, but we didn't. We had company all week. We were traveling, and it was just really, it wasn't going to happen. So we didn't want to put out something that wasn't good. So we didn't want to rush it. And we just said, you know what? 1 week, we'll get back onto it.
Right.
So here we are again with number 101.
101.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard them all, you can always go back and listen to some of the old ones. So There we go. All right, so on with the show, as we say. And today's episode is titled, Who Are You Impacting?
The backstory on this one, I'm prepping for our co-op to start our homeschool co-op, and I'm teaching a writing and literature technology class this semester. And one of the books that I'm using is called The Mount of Olives. And as I was, rereading to prep some discussion questions, it just struck me that this book was recommended to me by a good friend, Kelly Miller. And she was pursuing a psychology courses degree at Liberty University online. And this was part of one of the books in her study. And she just told me about how great it was, thought-provoking. And so I didn't act on it when she first told me, and ends up that Kelly was diagnosed with cancer and passed away very quickly. And later, as I'm looking back through some of our text threads, I saw this, the book that she had talked about, and I thought, I'm going to grab that. And it was special to me to read it. And I just thought the other night, like as I'm prepping, her impact on like these 16 high school, middle schoolers that I'm going to be working with, like, she's impacting them, even after her life here has been, cut short. But so I think that was kind of the topic for today. Like, we don't know how far, like the ripple effect of things that we might talk to people about or share with them. So that's the backstory.
Yeah, that is the backstory, and a very good one at that, because it's very authentic and meaningful. So let's kick it off. We came up with 5 points, as we always do, and we could have came up with 6 or 7, but we boiled it down to 5, and I think these 5 are really helpful and inspiring. So let's start off with number 1.
Number 1 is playing small or going for it all.
Okay, so it rhymes. I don't know if you guys caught that, but playing small or going for it all, it does rhyme. So it really comes down to what's expected of you, right? And most people, I'm going to use myself as the example here. I was just in the preamble, we were talking with our son Tim about this, and I said, in the world's eyes, I have been very successful. I was a good athlete in school. I got plenty of accolades. Great, big deal. Then I graduated, went to college, got a degree in biology, BS in biology, graduated. Okay, big deal, right? But by the world standards, I am doing the right thing, right? And then I go on to, doctoral school, become a chiropractor, graduate. Great. Okay. Next thing, open a business, work with my dad for a while, go out on my own, build a nice business, employ some people, help lots of people, work at it, build a comfortable living. I'm married, have a family. Like by all the world's standards, I'm doing everything correctly, right? But at the end of the day, I can still be living small.
Right.
Because the expectation is only that of this world, like what's in this world. But the real question is what does God expect of me? Because that's a totally different question. And the quality of the question that you ask is going to determine the quality of the life that you lead. And so we have to continue to ask the question, like, are you going for it all? Are you really growing and developing? Or are you doing the same things that everybody would expect you to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not called to be of this world. We're actually called to be different. We're called to be salt and light in this world. And that's got to look different, right? So, and that comes from a surrender. That comes from an unshackling of the world's view of you, right? And I think that's one thing that I got to admit, I've been very concerned about what other people think of me, even though maybe I don't let it show. But one of the motivating factors in anybody that's trying to do something in this world culturally is that you want the approval of the culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, discerning what God's will is for me is far superior, because the journey that he wants to take me on is way more impactful beyond the grave, right? And that's what you led off with today, is somebody that was following and pursuing God's will and not what the culture or what this world expected of her. And she knew that she had a finite time here, and she pursued something that was way more meaningful and left a memory, but also is now leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many things I'm thinking about there, and it's never too late. Like I think of Kelly, and she, she didn't go a straight path to taking classes at Liberty, right? It was all over, just like my life, all over this, and so it's never too late for us to say, okay, let's reassess and look at where I'm at now, and where is God going to lead me from where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of like her son Devin is inspiring to me, like the changes he's making and wanting to volunteer and help out at church. And it's really awesome. Like the impact that her desire and her faithfulness to God and pursuing him, and the impact that's having in her own, family here still. So,
Yeah. So yeah, playing small or going for it all. And the answer is go for it all. That's the selection there. Don't play small. Yeah, it's not what you're called to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That brings us to number 2.
Knowing is not the answer.
Yeah. So, and this was something from that book, right? Wasn't it?
No.
Or no? No. Okay. So we don't live in a time when there's not enough information. We live in a time when there's almost too much information available to us. So it's not the fact that you don't know enough of something. It's the fact that is what you know and what you're not doing with it. That's what's holding you back. So if you have something that is of value and beneficial to everyone that you know, then what's holding you back from sharing it, right? So the fact that we have a God that loves you and wants to have a relationship with you and wants to help grow you, but you have to surrender to him, like that's something that needs to be shared with everybody, because it can benefit everybody, right? Like there's going to come a time when you're not going to get the opportunity to do that, right? There's going to come a time. Now with that, it comes a lot of challenges, but at the same time, you can't let that stop you. Just because of the things that are challenging, that's why a lot of people don't pursue things that are difficult, is because they see the difficulties and they fail to act, right? They're scared, they're afraid of judgment, whatever it might be. There's what you know enough now to go forward. You do. You know enough now. You don't think, oh, I'm not a good enough speaker. I got to take speaking lessons. Oh, I'm not good with technology. I got to learn how to do this. No, you know enough now to get started. And if you're truly following God's path, if God is like calling you to do something, He's going to make a way for you to be successful, but He wants you to take action.
Right. He will
Right?
equip you.
He will equip
Yeah.
you along the way. We've talked
We
about
talk
that in
about that a
previous,
lot.
in previous podcasts. You know, our pastor talked a lot about hope and faith. He's been preaching on it quite a bit. And one of the things that he said this past week was that hope is in the future, and it's great to have hope. You should always have hope in the future. But faith is taking that hope and drawing it into the present. And the only way that that's done is through faith is a verb. It needs to be lived. You don't own faith. You don't have faith. You have to live faith. And that means taking action. That means, discerning God's will for you. And if it's truly his will, it's going to bear fruit, and it's going to be a fruit of his Spirit, right? So you've got to but it's got to be you've got to let go and trust that. That's where the faith part is, right? I was listening to a guy talk about those horses, the Tennessee Walker horses, and these horses are there's a training thing that they do to them. It's a bit cruel, but they put weights on them when they're young, and they have to on their front feet, and they have to walk with these weights on them, and they leave them on for years, and then all of a sudden they take them off, and then the horse automatically picks up its front two hooves as it walks, and it looks really like elegant, almost a little bit weird. But they show these horses, and they do these, and they're judged based on that. My point is that when you're unshackled, you don't know what to do sometimes, and sometimes that prevents you from going to do what you're called to do because you're afraid. You don't know how to act. But if you allow him to guide you and lead you, you're going to find a way, and he will lead you down that path. So knowing is not the answer.
Yeah, what you do.
Anything else you want to say about that?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, point number
3, the greatest battle you will ever face is...
Yeah, greatest battle you'll ever face. It's you versus
you.
You versus you. So what does that mean?
Well, it's missed opportunity. It's believing maybe that you're not skilled, like we just talked about. It's not willing to have confidence in yourself and say yes to things. Self-defeating.
It's self-doubt, right? It's self-doubt. It is, it's that old Indian saying, there's two wolves that do battle.
Which one you're going to feed?
Yeah. And it's the good wolf, which is, or the bad wolf. The good wolf is one that is love and peace and joy and self-control and all the fruits of the Spirit. And then the other one is anger, greed, lust, envy, jealousy, all the sins, right? And so which one is going to win in this battle is the one you feed. And that's really what this point is about, is that we are born with a sinful heart. We're born with, always wanting to do things for ourselves. A selfish, hedonistic, heart is really what we have. But when you allow God in, he cleanses your heart. When you allow that to happen, now you can win the battle, right? He'll equip you to win the battle so that you feed the good wolf, right? So that you feed the fruits of the Spirit, right? So that's the greatest battle, and it's a battle every day that you have to consciously choose. And one of the things that Jesus said was, "Satan, get behind me." And it was when Peter was like saying, "No, Lord, they're not going to. I'm not going to let them do that to you. I'm not going to let them, take you away." And he said, "Satan, get behind me." And it was because Peter didn't have faith in what Jesus was doing, but also like. That was a motivator, meaning that the things that scare you, when you put them behind you, they can push you forward, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, I'm going to do it. Even though it's scary, I'm going to do it because it's behind me. I'm not believing in that, right? So I'm going to allow that to propel me or push me forward because I've put it behind me.
We've talked about this in previous podcasts too, like you're drawing on previous wins. So that gives you the confidence to know, okay, it's all right to step out into this scary opportunity. I did it something like this before. I moved through that. So drawing on past, I think, is huge for that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, the greatest battle you ever face is you. And yeah, you're going to win it. Okay. So point number 4, mistakes and failures don't hurt. Yeah. So mistakes and failures don't hurt. What does that mean?
Well, we were talking like the way we move forward, the way we grow is by trying things, and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to have failure, and that's a learning opportunity and that's propelling us forward. So they don't hurt. The biggest thing is the regret of not taking the step, allowing yourself to fail, allowing yourself to grow. Those again are the missed opportunities.
Yeah. So it's not just it's missed up. I look at this as all about, an opportunity that you didn't even think was an opportunity. It's like not even having your radar up for it. Those are missed opportunities. Opportunity. It can be something you didn't say when the moment struck you. Right? You should have said something. You should have spoke up. Right? So then you walk away and you're like, oh man, I wish I said something to that guy. He was so wrong and he was so hurtful. And I could have said something that could have made it better, right? I could have done something that could have been really intelligent, that maybe could have caught his attention and asked him a question that would have made the difference, made him reflect on what he said or what she said, like, in the moment, sometimes we don't have the words to say, and then we say nothing. And there is some wisdom in that too,
Sure.
and not speaking without being discernful. But regret is just not taking a risk, not taking a chance. It's not trying something. It's not writing the check for something. It's not taking the trip that is going to introduce you to new things. It's not going to I didn't go to that school, or I didn't try that new whatever it might be. So
Skill class.
opportunities, they abound. And the cool thing is that you may not get those opportunities back, but there'll be other opportunities if you're aware. Okay.
The book that I'm reading there, The Mount of Olives, the author talks about lady opportunity, actually, he says, and that the person who is has a schedule, is disciplined, is awake early, they're prepared when lady opportunity knocks on their door. So there's a lot of work to be done to prepare yourself for the opportunity. And so, the author was encouraging people about preparing ourselves. So when opportunity does knock, and kind of inferring that opportunity is not going to knock on the door of the sloth.
Yeah.
You're just lounging, not putting any effort in. Opportunity doesn't often knock on that door.
Yeah. I mean, we've literally been working on this podcast since this morning. Sandy was not here in town, visiting her dad, and she sent me first thing in the morning a whole litany of text messages with content. And then I was reading through it, and then I wrote all this stuff up, and because we know that this is an opportunity. This is going on the internet. This is going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on Spotify. This is going to be available around the world if it's shared enough, right? No pressure. But the point is that we all have opportunities every day. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to be prepared for it? Or are you going to just go about what everybody expects you to do? Get up, go to work, make dinner, go to bed, watch some TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that brings us to point number 5.
Your life improves when you improve.
Oh, yeah.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, there's the quote that your life improves when you improve. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. That's the quote from C.S. Lewis. So, yeah, like going forward, this is looking into the future. This is the hope of your future and what you do with that. It's the faith to draw it in, right? And that's taking action, faith, living your faith out by drawing in what you're hoping for in the future. How do you do that? Well, you have to sit down and take some time and plan it for one, but you also have to allow the planner to guide you, right? So, imagine if you're driving down the road and you see Jesus walking on the road down the road hitchhiking, and you pull over. And you're like, I guess I'll pull over. And you roll down the window and you're like, hey, Jesus, would you like a ride? And he walks around the car and he knocks on your window and you roll the window down and he says, yeah, move over. And you've got to surrender. And he gets in the car and he takes the steering wheel and he turns the car around and takes you in a totally different direction, right? That's allowing him to lead you, right? We have to give up that control.
This, how it speaks to me is in a different perspective. Like, I feel like this is summarizes my life in some ways. Like, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. So I feel like I tend to look back with things that I wish had been different, rehash things, and that didn't serve me well.
Right.
And I'm going to get there's such a transformation when you can like accept that was that. Right. And people were people because life is tough and there's broken things and that's just the way things are, right? And so if you let the Lord transform your heart and you have this new vision and this new purpose, like I just see that, like then the opportunities and the future are just open to whatever you want them to be. And there doesn't have to be this focus on lack of what I missed out on and the hurt. And it's just propelling and looking forward. And so I've been really working on that, like not looking back, looking forward.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. And it's been amazing to watch your transformation because I've known you for so long. And to see this, young woman that I met when you were what, 19? Yeah, 19 years old, and to see how uncertain you were, how shy she was, and just always very sweet, but very, very shy. Wouldn't even tell me where she'd like to go out to dinner when I invited her out to dinner. Her roommate had to answer for her. So to where she is now on a podcast and talking about her past, that it was okay. Like, that's okay. That was then. And now God has changed her. Jesus has filled her heart and has transformed her to more of what he sees her to be, right? He didn't see her to be this scared, unconfident woman that she was at that point in her life, that she's now a fearless woman that walks forward, that is bold in knowing that she has comfort and peace in something supernatural that is beyond this world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's a redeemer.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that's a wrap, wouldn't you say?
I say.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. Be sure to tune in each and every week so you can stay connected, be inspired, and keep moving toward your best life by stripping away your limitations. And we will see you back next week.
Have a great week.
Have a great week.